Have you ever wondered what it means to truly connect with someone in your later years, not just physically but emotionally, without the pressures and expectations of youth? As we grow older, intimacy and relationships evolve in ways we might not expect. And yet, we find ourselves grappling with fears and insecurities that can sometimes seem out of place in a world where we are supposed to be at peace with who we are. But what if the secrets to navigating these changes were closer than we think? What if the wisdom of our elders holds the key to understanding intimacy, not as a performance, but as a profound connection? In today's video, I want to share an inspiring story of a woman who embodied that wisdom. A woman whose journey through life taught her that intimacy and relationships in older age are far more than just physical encounters. She showed how vulnerability, patience, and understanding can transform the way we view ourselves and our partners. As we delve into her story, we'll uncover the powerful lessons that can help you navigate intimacy as you age, how to silence the shame and embrace connection, and why your mental and emotional health play a huge role in your physical experiences. By the end of this video, you'll have a deeper understanding of how to foster a fulfilling, meaningful relationship with yourself and others, no matter your age. Why watch this until the end? Learn how to approach intimacy in older age with less pressure and more understanding. Discover why intimacy is about connection and vulnerability, not perfection. Hear a powerful lesson on how to support your partner when things don't go as planned, without adding to their shame. Find comfort in the fact that your struggles are shared, and you are not alone in navigating this journey. Stay with me until the end, because this story might just change the way you look at relationships for the rest of your life. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. In a quaint, secluded village nestled at the base of towering, ancient mountains, there lived an elderly woman whose presence in the community was nothing short of revered. She was known as the Wise One, a title earned not by her years alone but by the depth of her soul, her keen insight, and her ability to weave words that soothed even the most troubled hearts. Over time, her humble wooden cabin had become a sanctuary for those seeking not only guidance but solace for their weary souls. Her door was always open, a gentle invitation to anyone grappling with life's most perplexing and painful questions. Her once vibrant hair had grayed with time, but her eyes, oh those eyes, shimmered with the wisdom of countless lived years. The lines etched into her weathered face told stories of love, loss, joy, and sorrow, each wrinkle a testament to the richness of her life's journey. Though her body had grown frail with age, her spirit remained strong, a beacon of unwavering strength for the village. People would travel for miles, sometimes through biting winds or sweltering heat, just to sit in her presence, hoping to absorb even a fragment of the wisdom she offered so generously. One warm afternoon, as the golden sun filtered through the leaves and the air carried the scent of blooming wildflowers, a group of young men and women, each brimming with uncertainty and curiosity, arrived at her doorstep. They had heard whispers of her profound understanding of relationships and the delicate mysteries of intimacy, an area in which they, in their youthful eagerness, often found themselves tangled. Desperation for answers and a shared sense of vulnerability hung in the air like a quiet storm. They hoped that, somehow, she might illuminate the shadows that clouded their understanding, offering clarity and peace. As they gathered around her, sitting cross-legged on the worn wooden floor of her cabin, the wise woman, her hands folded gently in her lap, each finger a reflection of a lifetime of experiences, regarded them with eyes full of warmth, compassion, and a deep, almost maternal understanding. She saw not just the eager faces before her, but the silent struggles and the quiet fears they carried within their hearts. She knew that youth, while filled with the promise of possibility, was also fraught with insecurities, particularly when it came to matters of intimacy, a domain where self-doubt and fear often whispered louder than the voice of confidence. One young man, his cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and courage, finally spoke. His voice trembled slightly, betraying the inner turmoil that had driven him to seek her counsel. "Grandmother," he began, his words halting, as though they carried the weight of his soul's deepest worry. "What should a man do when, in the midst of intimacy, his body doesn't respond as he expects? When his penis fails to become erect? It's something that haunts us, and we feel helpless, unable to navigate it without shame." The elderly woman's gaze softened, a profound empathy emanating from her as she processed his words. She knew this was a moment of vulnerability, a cry for reassurance, for the alleviation of a burden too heavy for youth to bear alone. She nodded gently, her movements slow but deliberate, as though she were speaking not just to them but to the very core of their anxieties. "My dear ones," she began, her voice a melodic whisper that seemed to cradle the room in its warmth, "let me tell you something important, something that will free you from the weight of your worries. What you are experiencing is far more common than you can imagine. In fact, it is a part of the human experience that many, if not all, will face at some point in their lives. The body, with all its marvels, does not always respond in the way we expect or desire. There are moments when the mind and body become disconnected, when they are not in sync, and that dissonance can reveal itself during intimacy." She paused, allowing her words to settle like a gentle rain, filling the space with a sense of quiet understanding. She looked at each of them, her gaze unhurried, as though she could see the turbulence within them and was allowing them the time to process her wisdom. "The truth," she continued, her voice gaining a steady strength, "is that an erection, what so many men mistakenly associate with their masculinity and identity, is not merely a physical act. It is deeply intertwined with a person's emotional and mental state. When a man feels stressed, anxious, exhausted, or burdened by concerns that have nothing to do with the intimate moment, his body may not respond the way he wishes. And that is not a reflection of his worth, his strength, or his ability to love. It is simply a reflection of the complexity of the human experience." She let her words sink in, giving them space to breathe, before offering a quiet but powerful conclusion. "You must learn to be gentle with yourselves. To understand that true intimacy, the kind that transcends the physical, is not bound by expectations or perfection. It is about trust, vulnerability, and connection. The body may falter, but the heart can still remain open, and that is where the real magic lies." Her words lingered in the air like a healing balm, soothing the anxious hearts of the young people who had gathered before her. They realized, in that moment, that intimacy was not a test to be passed or a performance to be perfected, but a beautiful, imperfect journey of understanding oneself and the person who stands beside you. And as they sat there, enveloped by her wisdom, they felt a renewed sense of peace, an inner calm that told them they were not alone in their struggles, and that the path ahead, though uncertain, would be navigated with grace. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. One of the young men, his brow furrowed with confusion and concern, spoke up, his voice trembling with a mix of uncertainty and the raw vulnerability that had brought him to seek this woman's wisdom. "So, grandmother," he asked hesitantly, "if this happens, is it the man's fault? Does it mean he's not excited enough? Does it mean he's not trying hard enough?" The wise woman's face softened, her eyes brimming with the kind of understanding that could only come from a lifetime of experience. She shook her head gently, her movements deliberate and full of care, as though she were tenderly brushing away the harsh judgments that clouded the young man's heart. "No, my son," she replied, her voice warm and steady, carrying the weight of compassion. "It is not about blame. Blame only deepens the wound. Thinking that way only adds unnecessary pressure to a situation that is already delicate, fragile. Intimacy, my dear, should be a space of connection, of mutual understanding and support, not a battleground for shame or self-doubt." She paused, her gaze softening even further, as if reaching into the very hearts of those around her, hoping to erase the misconceptions they carried. If the body does not respond in the way you expect, if the erection does not come when it is desired, it does not mean that there is any less attraction, any less desire for your partner. It is simply a sign that something in your mind, your emotions, or your body needs attention. Attention that should come with love, patience, and understanding, not criticism or self-blame. Her words hung in the air, like a gentle breeze, soothing the troubled hearts of the young men who sat before her. They could feel the weight of their doubts begin to lift, just a little, under the comforting blanket of her wisdom. Before anyone could speak, a young woman, her face etched with genuine concern and a desire to support those she loved, spoke up. Her voice was soft, yet laced with worry as she looked at the elderly woman with imploring eyes. "Grandmother, if this happens, if things don't go as expected, what should we do? How can we support our partners without making them feel worse, without adding to the shame they might already feel?" The wise woman's lips curled into a tender, knowing smile, one that carried a deep sense of comfort and reassurance. Her eyes twinkled with quiet joy, as though the answer to this question had lived within her for many years, ready to offer solace. "Daughter," she began, her voice rich with both affection and authority, "the key lies not in perfection, but in love and understanding. If an erection does not happen, the worst thing you can do is fall into silence, or worse, into shame. That silence can be suffocating. It can build walls between you, causing the fear and confusion to fester. What is needed in that moment is to speak to each other, openly and gently. Ask how your partner feels. Listen with kindness, without judgment. Share the vulnerability that comes with not having all the answers, but still choosing to be present with one another." She paused for a moment, allowing her words to sink in. Then she continued, her voice softening further, as if wrapping everyone in a warm embrace. "Intimacy, my dear, is not only about the physical act itself. It is not solely about the hardness of a body part, but about the softness of the heart. It is about the tender moments that unfold between you, moments of connection that don't require perfection to be meaningful. A hug, a gentle caress, holding hands, or simply lying together in silence can speak volumes. These moments of closeness, of vulnerability shared, are just as important, if not more so, than the act you may have envisioned. And in those moments, you may find that the true beauty of intimacy is not in the performance, but in the love, understanding, and compassion that you nurture with each other." Her smile deepened as she saw the understanding begin to bloom on the faces of the young people before her. The fear and tension in the room seemed to dissipate, replaced with the comforting warmth of a newfound wisdom. The weight of shame and confusion was slowly being replaced with the lightness of trust and mutual support. "Remember," she added, her voice now almost a whisper, "intimacy is an unfolding journey. It is not a destination. And in that journey, it is not the absence of difficulties that defines you, but how you face them together, with love, with patience, and with the willingness to embrace each other fully, as you are." In that moment, the cabin seemed to glow with the radiance of truth, the kind of truth that only time and experience could offer. The young men and women, filled with a sense of peace, left the wise woman's presence not with all the answers, but with the comfort of knowing that intimacy was not a place to be feared or perfected, but a space to grow together, with love as their guide. Another young man, his gaze lowered and his voice barely above a whisper, asked, "But grandmother, what if this becomes a recurring issue? What if it happens more than once?" The wise woman, ever patient and tender, looked at him with profound compassion. Her eyes, deep pools of wisdom that had witnessed the joys and sorrows of a lifetime, held no judgment, only understanding. She took a moment to absorb the weight of his question, feeling the vulnerability in his words, before responding in a voice as soft as a breeze but as steady as the mountains around them. "If this happens repeatedly, my dear, it is important not to ignore it, but equally important not to panic. Your body, this intricate vessel we each inhabit, is trying to communicate something to you. It may be something as simple as stress, work, the pressures of life, health concerns, or even the emotional weight of unresolved worries that have been slowly building up in your heart and mind. Our bodies are far more than just physical structures. They are deeply connected to our emotions, our thoughts, our experiences. When things are out of balance, they send us signals, often when we least expect it. Pay attention to them. Listen carefully." She paused, her gaze thoughtful, as if weighing her next words. She could feel the unease in the young man's heart, his desire for reassurance, and she offered it in abundance. If this becomes a consistent issue, it's wise to seek help. Speak to a healthcare professional, someone who can offer you guidance, someone who can help you uncover the deeper causes, if necessary. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. There is no shame in it, my son. On the contrary, it takes great strength to acknowledge when something isn't right and to seek the support you need. That is the essence of self-care. It is also a way of caring for the relationship you hold so dear, as no burden should be carried alone. The group of young people, who had been holding their breath throughout the conversation, let out a collective sigh. There was a weight lifting from their shoulders, a tension evaporating into the air as they absorbed her words. It was as if a fog had been lifted from their hearts, and they were seeing the world with new eyes. They realized that seeking help wasn't a sign of weakness, but of wisdom, of courage. It was about taking responsibility not just for their own well-being, but for the health of their relationships, the bonds they cherished with those they loved. The wise woman continued, her voice flowing like a gentle stream, offering clarity in a world often clouded by fear, confusion, and the pressure of expectations. Remember this, my children, she said, her eyes scanning their faces with an almost imperceptible smile, a smile full of warmth and affection. Intimacy is not a competition. It is not about proving anything to anyone. It is not about comparing yourself to some external ideal or striving to meet some impossible standard. Intimacy is a sacred space, a place where two souls meet, vulnerable, raw, and open to each other. It is where the walls we build around our hearts are lowered, and where we connect on a level far deeper than the physical. Intimacy is not about perfection. It is about understanding, compassion, and building a connection that transcends the body. It is about trust, respect, and the deep, unwavering bond that grows between two people who have the courage to show up, fully present in all their human imperfection. Her words hung in the air like the sweetest music, and for a moment, the cabin was filled with an almost sacred silence. Her presence, calm, steady, and unwavering, was a quiet anchor in the storm of doubts that had so often troubled these young souls. And when one of you feels insecure, when the body does not respond as expected, do not turn away or close off. Be there for each other. Offer comfort. Offer reassurance. Let your partner know that you are not judging them, that this moment does not define their worth, their masculinity, or their value. Remind them that love and desire are not confined to the physical act. They are woven into the very fabric of your shared experience. The way you listen, the way you care, the way you honor each other's humanity. That is what truly matters. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. A young woman, her voice trembling with both concern and tenderness, spoke up, the rawness of her vulnerability matching the depth of her compassion. And how can we, as women, help our partners feel more secure in those moments, when the weight of the world feels like it's on their shoulders? The wise woman's gaze softened even further, and her smile spread slowly, almost imperceptibly, across her face. She could feel the weight of the question, the genuine desire to support and nurture, and her heart swelled with affection for the young woman before her. "Daughter," she began, her voice both gentle and powerful, "the most important thing you can offer your partner in those moments is reassurance. Let him feel that you are not judging him, that you are not disappointed or angry, that you see him for the entirety of who he is. In those vulnerable moments, he needs to feel that you are not there to criticize him or to pressure him. He needs to feel your acceptance, your unwavering support. His worth is not tied to any one moment, to any one physical response. He is not defined by the way his body behaves at any given time." She paused, choosing her words carefully, as if each one carried the weight of a lifetime of wisdom. Instead of focusing on the physical act, allow space for other forms of connection. Cuddle, hold hands, kiss, or simply sit in silence together. Sometimes, shifting the focus from performance to closeness, to the emotional bond you share, can ease the tension. It allows things to unfold in their own time, naturally, without the pressure of expectation. It gives your body and your heart the space to breathe, to heal, and to respond when it is ready. The intimacy you seek isn't bound by performance. It is woven in the quiet moments, the small gestures, and the ways in which you choose to be present with one another. The young woman nodded, her face softening, as the wise woman's words wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. A new understanding bloomed in her heart, a realization that true intimacy was not about perfection, but about presence. It was about mutual respect, compassion, and the willingness to be vulnerable together, hand in hand, through life's uncertainties. The wise woman's smile deepened, her eyes gleaming with quiet pride as she looked around at the group before her. She knew that they had absorbed something far more profound than a lesson about intimacy. They had learned about compassion, about the power of emotional connection, and about the strength found in vulnerability. They had learned that true love and intimacy are about supporting one another in moments of insecurity, embracing the imperfections, and creating a bond that transcends the physical. And in that moment, the cabin felt not just like a humble home, but a sanctuary, a sacred space where hearts could speak freely, without fear of judgment, where love could breathe, unfurl, and thrive, fully and unconditionally. The young people exchanged glances, their eyes wide with newfound understanding, their hearts full of unspoken appreciation. In the stillness of the room, they recognized, for the first time, the profound truth in the wise woman's words. A quiet realization began to grow within them, that the path to a truly fulfilling and satisfying intimate relationship wasn't solely rooted in physical desire or the act itself. No, it was about something much deeper, much more meaningful, an emotional connection that transcended mere physical attraction. It was about the trust, vulnerability, and mutual understanding that formed the very foundation of intimacy. They had always thought of intimacy as something defined by what they could touch, feel, and see. But now they understood that it was equally defined by what they couldn't see, the invisible threads of empathy, respect, and shared experience that wove two souls together. As they looked at one another, they felt a shift within themselves. The barriers that had previously stood between their hearts and minds seemed to dissolve, replaced by a quiet certainty. Intimacy, they now saw, was not just about the surface-level connection. It was about a much deeper union that required patience, openness, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. The realization dawned on them that true intimacy began not in the bedroom, but in the heart. It was a shared journey, a dance of two people moving through life together, each willing to see and understand the other in their fullest humanity, not just in their moments of strength, but in their moments of weakness, too. The wise woman, sensing the profound shift in their understanding, smiled softly, her gaze steady and knowing. She spoke again, her voice full of warmth and tenderness, as though guiding them through the heart of a lesson that would stay with them forever. "My dear ones," she said, her words slow and deliberate, "never, ever forget that true love is not measured by the perfection of the body. It is measured by the compassion, the kindness, and the depth of the heart. You may encounter obstacles and challenges in your intimate lives, moments of doubt or frustration. You may face times when things don't unfold as you expect, when desires remain unfulfilled, or when your bodies don't respond as you wish. These moments, though difficult, are not walls to your happiness. They are stepping stones on the path of understanding. They offer you a chance to learn more about each other, to grow together in ways you never could have imagined." Her voice softened, the weight of her words heavy with wisdom. "Remember, my children, that it is in your vulnerability, in those moments of discomfort, that you find the true strength of your connection. When you can sit together in silence, when you can share your fears and insecurities without judgment, that is where love is born. It is not in the perfection of the moment, but in the willingness to face life's imperfections together that you find true intimacy." She looked around the room, meeting each of their eyes with a deep, unwavering gaze. And when you are confronted with insecurity or fear, do not allow it to push you away from the ones you love. Instead, face those moments with courage. Be brave enough to share your struggles and honest enough to offer your support. Remember, love is not about proving anything to anyone. It's not about meeting some external expectation or competing with a false ideal. True love is about showing up for each other, wholeheartedly, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. The young people stood in quiet awe, taking in every word, feeling the weight of her wisdom in their bones. They knew that this lesson was not only about intimacy, it was about life itself. The wise woman had shown them that relationships were not simply about physical connection, but about deep, unwavering emotional connection. In that moment, they understood that the foundation of every meaningful relationship, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, was not built on perfection, but on understanding, compassion, and the willingness to show up for one another, even when things were hard. With hearts full of gratitude and minds clearer than ever before, the young people thanked the wise woman for her guidance. Their voices, once unsure and filled with doubt, now rang out with a sense of deep reverence. They knew that the wisdom she had shared would be a light in their lives, guiding them not just through moments of intimacy, but through the entirety of their relationships. They understood that this was the key to building bonds based on respect, empathy, and most importantly, love. True love, the kind that transcends the body and touches the soul. As they made their way out of the cabin, a sense of peace settled over them. They knew that what they had learned that day would guide them for years to come, shaping the way they interacted with those they loved, the way they cared for themselves, and the way they nurtured their relationships. They walked forward with a quiet confidence, knowing that intimacy was not a goal to be achieved, but a lifelong journey, a journey they would walk together, with patience, vulnerability, and above all, love. And as they left the wise woman's cabin behind, they carried within them not only the lessons of the day but a new way of being, one rooted in emotional honesty, deep connection, and the courage to embrace life's uncertainties together, hand in hand. So, what have you learned from the wisdom of the elderly woman in today's story? We've explored the profound connection between intimacy and emotional well-being, and how understanding and patience, both with ourselves and our partners, can transform the way we experience relationships as we grow older. But the real question is, what's one thing you've taken away from this video that you can start practicing in your own life? Whether it's letting go of the pressure to be perfect in intimacy, embracing vulnerability, or learning to communicate openly with your partner, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share in the comments below one key takeaway that resonated with you, and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your insights might just inspire someone else who's walking a similar path. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with others who might benefit from this wisdom, and subscribe to our channel for more thoughtful and empowering content like this. Thank you for being part of this journey. Together, we'll continue learning, growing, and connecting in the most meaningful ways.